The legend with my trusty counterpart, Ice Killer. How you doing, Mr. Ice?
I'm good, dude.
Good. That's what we like to hear. So we're gonna go over a couple things for y'all today. Resources and materials. Super simple, also super confusing, and something that we get tons of questions on all the time. So this is gonna be a quick, simple video just to show you what you need, how much of it you need, where to use it, and so on. So we're going to answer a couple questions. What do you need? When do you need it? How much should you carry, and where do you find it? I'm also going to kind of a little bit, not too much, go into because it'll take forever, but what is each thing for, if that makes sense. So we'll just get right into it. So if you're looking, obviously, you know, when you go into the game, you go pick something, blah, 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 I'm going to go do this. Okay, great. You jump into a level. Couple things to know, and this is just one of those little tad bits of information you'll start to figure out real quick. There's different types of areas, right? So you have a city, you have what's called grasslands, you have a forest. Just use your common sense, people. I know that kind of sounds silly to even have to say that, but where do you think you're going to find more metal? In a city or in a freaking forest? It just makes sense that more metal is going to be in the city. So just kind of keep that in mind. There's also something called industrial zones. You're going to find a lot of metal and a lot of stone there. Cities have pretty much a bunch of everything. You know, even if you're looking for wood, that's on the outside of the map. So and I'll get into that later, but let's start with what do you need. Okay, so at any point, this is one of the cool new changes they've made. At any point you can go into what's called your backpack, and when you're in the game, this is what you're carrying on you. Okay, so at any point in time you can kind of take this stuff out. So real quick, the three main resources, if you hear people call them materials, you tell them that they're wrong and point them right to the backpack, because it clearly says basic resource found throughout the world. It's a resource, okay? Natural resources, if you ever heard that terminology made before. But anyway, wood, come on people, that's simple. Knock down trees if you want it. You see little bushes, same thing. But as you play, and the more you play, you're going to start to notice certain things give you more. Something really key to add here is whenever you're what's called farming or gathering resources and materials, you'll see that, let's say you're using your pickaxe on a rock, and you'll notice a circle pops up. Well, that does two things if you hit that nice little bullseye, as they call it. If you hit that bullseye, you're going to farm quicker, but you're also going to get more materials out of it. You'll actually see like a plus and then a number right after it. So wood, that just makes sense. If it looks like it's made of wood, you're probably going to get wood out of it. Stone. So stone is a little tricky because there's certain things that you're going to be like, why am I getting stone out of this? Prime example, go to Canny, you're going to see what looks like it's like a bull and it's a skull, and you're going to get brick out of it, and you're going to be like, huh, that's kind of weird. And then obviously you also have your metal, you know, things like vehicles, transformer boxes, you know, the oven in the kitchen. So the more you play, the more you're going to know where these resources are. Again, if you go back to some of these other videos we made, if you look at the Outlander videos especially, and I think we'll end up doing a video for each hero just to kind of show some of the cool things about it. But with that, the Outlander's specifically made for farming. So if you're, hey, I need a bunch of this resource and a bunch of these mats, take a good Outlander out, especially one that has like a loot llama. I think almost all of them have loot llamas. But anyway, Pathfinder just so you all know, and I think the other Jess that's in the store right now, they have what's called the Diamond Llama. Really quick way to just double up on your resources and bring them all home. But with that, this is the materials side. It was much different. Like, people were stingy, nobody wanted to help each other. So I always try to tell people, don't ever get too worried about not having something, because I don't want to help you. But just to break this down and make it really simple for you, okay? The things you're always going to want, and ice. Firstly, rough ore, okay? I call them snowballs. You're going to need these to craft half the things in the game. What do we say these are used for? It's like weapons, traps, just a little bit of everything, right?
Racers.
Yeah. So these come out of rocks, specifically. You'll see rocks everywhere on the freaking map. Knock those bad boys down. This is what you're going to get out of them. Planks, also used in half the things that you create in the game. Very important, comes from trees or bushes. Again, simple stuff, people. You're going to find those everywhere. The next one, though, maybe not as simple, because there's things that you wouldn't maybe have think that would have nuts and bolts in it that actually do. So, prime example. Nuts and bolts, first of all, can be found all over the world. And when I say all over, I mean like in every little crevice and passageway you can find them. Sometimes you'll find them in little cans that look like a soup can. Or you'll see them in like a circular can that looks like a just like a little circular dish almost. You'll find nuts and bolts in those, and they're usually hidden on the outsides of the map. You'll see them next to like your stones or your rocks, tucked behind in like a little corner. So once you start noticing where they're at, they're generally always in those same places. With that said, though, a couple other cool things. So let's say you're in a city and there's a bunch of vehicles. If you start knocking on the vehicles, not only are you going to get metal out of them, but after you completely destroy it, a lot of times you get nuts and bolts out of them too. Another quick way, if you're in a city, like I said, things people might not think about. Your little, oh gosh, what are those coin collectors called? Now I can't even remember. Oh my gosh, what are those called? Help me out here, bro. The meters, parking meters. No, the damn parking meter. If you hit a parking meter, you're going to get nuts and bolts out of it. So just think of it this way, and it's really simple stuff, again, back to common sense. Things that use nuts and bolts to keep them together have a good chance of having nuts and bolts in them. That just makes sense. So if you're out there thinking you're going to bang on a gate and you're going to get nuts and bolts out of it because they're steel, not going to happen. But if you're going down, knocking down like, maybe an oven or a refrigerator, chances are you're going to get some nuts and bolts out of it. So those three things right here, probably the most used things in the game. As you can see, I have quite a few stacks of each of them because you really do use that many. Couple other things. So you're going to see fibrous herbs. You're going to see flower petals. These a lot of times are used in your traps and a couple weapons, not as many though. And you're going to find those by searching. So instead of destroying, you can search them. I think actually they made it now to where you can destroy certain things and you get it out of it as well. Batteries, you need these to make a lot of weapons. Not a lot, but quite a few. As you can see, I don't have as many stacks of... Actually, I have too many flowers right now because I don't even make that many. But I'll probably end up just gifting those to somebody anyway. Batteries, you're going to get those out of things that use a battery. For example, car, perfect example. Transformers. And if you read on each one of these things, it will actually tell you. So, for example, used as a component for powered devices found in populated areas and appliances. Doesn't get any more simple than that. If you ever forget where something is, just read it. It's not that hard, people. Bacon, crafting ingredient, the duct tape of food, can be found in unique places throughout the world. So those cans I was talking about? Sometimes those cans, those circular ones, are going to have bacon in them, or things that look like a little Spam. Like literally looks like a Spam can. It'll have bacon in it. Or you could destroy a toilet and bacon comes out. Really disgusting, but it's true. Another couple things that you're always going to need. These quartz crystals, they're used in so many things, it's ridiculous, especially your traps when they get higher level. But coal, this is a huge one. You're going to see a rock, okay, and it has imagine like little black rocks that look like they're pebbled rocks inside of it, okay? It's like a two-tone rock that has coal in it. For every one piece of coal, you can make 5 blast powder. I have 5 fingers here. Well, with that said, this is used in almost everything. So the 5 things we said you absolutely need to have at all times: rough ore, planks, nuts and bolts, quartz, and coal. Those 5 things you absolutely need to have always, okay? Simple stuff. But once you get into all this other stuff, because it looks really confusing because there's a ridiculous amount of things, right, as materials, it's really easy, and I'm going to show you why it's easy, okay? I want you to look when you're looking at this, it says copper ore and you see 1 star on it, okay? Now watch this. 1 star. Let's see. Okay. See how this right here, if I go over to crafting, it's going to tell me what I need. It's a 1 star weapon right now, okay? So anything that's level 10 or below, it needs copper ore to be crafted. Now what happens if I bump it up in level? And I'm pretty sure I have one bumped up. Probably don't. I don't, of course. So once you bump it up in level, or rarity is what they call it, I'll show you. Okay, so 2 star would be the next, right? That just makes sense. 1, 2. So 20 or below. 20. Actually, I'm sorry. It's power level 11 to 20. So now you're going to start needing silver ore. Once you get to 3 star, malachite. Once you get to 4 star, though, everything changes because they throw a right fielder at you, okay? Or throw a little loophole. They allow you to pick which way you want your weapon to go. Obsidian is the direction where if you want more durability for your weapon and you don't lose fire rate. If you go shadow shard, which is, I'm sorry, this one's shadow shard, this one's obsidian. If you go shadow shard, it's going to give it higher, damage, but you're going to lose fire rate and you're going to also lose durability. So 2 different 4 stars create different types of weapons, okay? Now what's really weird is when you get to things like heavy weapons, they're only going to let you use obsidian for them. Why? Because they already have really terrible durability. So if they put shadow shard on it, for example, you'd probably get like 4 or 5 shots out of it and it'd be broken and you'd have to make another one. So you would just rip through materials constantly. Swords, this is really funny too. They just added this, and Ice, I don't even know if you noticed this yet. It used to be 30 sleek to make it. Now it's 36, which, yeah, dude, that pisses me off. So now you need more to actually make one of these, but, what have you. So then you move on. Okay, so real simple. 3 star things, or 3 star weapons, or 3 star traps need 3 star materials. Same thing with 4 star and 5 star, okay? But each, weapon and each trap needs a combination of things to be made. So you're going to end up needing a different type of ore, mechanical parts, again, moving parts, right? Sometimes you need what's called a rotating gizmo. Sometimes you need what's called active power cells. And then you have some sort of twine involved, okay? So here's your stringy twine, that's 1 star. Simple twine's 2 star. 3 stars sturdy. 4 stars your peaky twine. And then carved twine is your last one, if I remember correctly. It looks like a snake, it's actually pretty cool looking. And then you can see quartz crystal goes back to that, okay? Just start realizing what you're going to use more. I can't tell you what you're going to need the most of as far as these materials are concerned, because you're not going to play like me. Maybe you do. Maybe you're like me and I'm like, okay, I'm going to use assault rifles mainly, and a sword. Pretty much that's it. So I know I'm going to need quartz crystal, I'm going to need sleek, and I only do shadow shard. The only thing I put to obsidian is obviously, like I said, my rocket launchers, or heavy weapons. So why do I do that? Because it makes my life easy. A couple other things though, okay? Ammo. Super simple. Every type of ammo except for energy cells needs these 3 things, okay? Wood, metal, nuts and bolts. Super simple. 10 pieces of wood, 4 pieces of metal, 2 nuts and bolts. Doesn't get easier than that. Honestly, in my personal opinion, don't craft ammo unless if you absolutely have to. Why? Because there's ammo all over the map. Because enough people complain, so they added about 40% more ammo crates. They're everywhere. Not to mention you can do encampments, I think, that give you ammo, and other little things on the map that you can do that give you ammo. Okay? Energy cells, though, they need 5 nuts and bolts, 1 blast powder, 1 battery, and 1 bacon. They also give you 100, though, so just remember that. Okay. Now finally, the last part of this that I wanted to show you, and this part's really important, and then I'll get into 1 or 2 more things maybe, depending. Okay. you can see that there's 4 different places, right? You can't see this, but this is twine. So as far as where you're going to find these materials, this is how it is on every single map, okay? What you want to look at, here's your whole map. At the beginning of the map, so we're talking like here's level 3, then or 1, then you got 5, you know, 3, 9, 15, and then your highest is going to be, yeah, 15. When you're at the lower end, you're going to get 1-star items. When you get to the higher end of that map, okay, you're going to start getting the next star's item. Now, why would they do this? As you level up, you're progressing. They expect you to progress your character and your weapons, and your traps, okay? So at the beginning of Stonewood, you're going to have 1-star items. At the end of Stonewood, you should be able to start crafting 2-star items. Really simple stuff, okay? So then when you get into, so that's Stonewood, so then I go to Plankerton. So at the beginning of Plankerton, I'm going to find a lot of 2-star stuff. And then at the end of Plankerton, so here's 19, then you get to 20s, then you get to 40s. Now I'm going to start finding 3-star items. Okay, so again, you're progressing, okay? Don't expect to find a whole bunch of it at the end of the map. They just want to give you just enough, like a little taste, so that you can maybe craft 1 or 2 weapons, because that's really where you should be at that point. Unless if you're like everybody in our community and then same thing. So now you start off in Canny, you start getting those 3-star items like they're nothing, and then winter items. Okay, really simple stuff. Other than that, well, I think, do you have anything else to add, Ice? Oh yeah, I know what I was gonna say, but keep going. What do you have to add?
Nothing, you always say it all. I'm just sitting tuning in, listening, learning something myself.
Well, what do you have to add about resources that these kind viewers should notate?
Let's see. A good tip. Lots of people like myself, when I was at low level, I used to always get legendary traps and get rid of them. You need traps in high power level missions, so every time you get a trap, keep it, definitely. And everything else you said about the bacon, 5 holds. That's 100% right for that.
Yeah, dude, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, when you're collecting resources, that's another thing. You can break down certain weapons, right? So let's pretend I was in a mission right now, okay, and I'm in my backpack, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm out of nuts and bolts, but I really have to make 1 more. You can come over here, right, and you can recycle them, and it will tell you what you're gonna get. You're gonna get 4 nuts and bolts and 2 fibrous herbs. Great, that's what I needed. You go ahead and confirm that recycle. Boom, now it was just given to you. Easy peasy, okay? Other than that, here's another big part that I'm really glad I didn't forget. Okay, so how much of each item is super freaking important. You want to have, at all times, try to have at least 3 stacks of nuts and bolts. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm going to show you why in a second. Try to have 3 stacks of nuts and bolts, 3 stacks of planks, 3 stacks of rough ore, if you can. Okay? Try to have at least a stack of everything else. Quartz crystal, you need at least a stack of. All these other things, you need at least a stack of. It may sound like a lot now, but as you play, you're going to find out it's really not that bad. Plus, like I said, you're going to have tons of people wanting to help you out. Here's the reason why, though. So, real quick, when you look at this for crafting, to make a single trap, okay? Yes, this is 82, but look at this. 10 nuts and bolts. I'm just going to scroll down here real quick. To this. Still, it's 1 power level. Hasn't been upgraded at all. 13 nuts and bolts. You see what I'm saying? 11 nuts and bolts. 10 nuts and bolts. The exact same thing. Okay? 10 nuts and bolts. 10 nuts and bolts. Still need 3 ore, still need 2 batteries. The only thing that's going to end up changing on you is what type of mineral powder you're using. Okay? That's it. So that's why it's so important to have nuts and bolts. So just to do simple math for you guys, if I wanted to make 10 of these, it's going to cost me 100 nuts and bolts. It's going to cost me 30 rough ore, 20 batteries, and 20 fine grain material. That may not seem like a big deal, but when you're in missions and these things are exploding and now you have to put up another one, before you know it, you waste an entire stack in a mission. A stack meaning 200. That's crazy. But a couple of cool things to note. You can actually hold up to 200 traps at a time per slot, which is pretty cool. The resources, those get upgraded as you level up your skill tree. So I think you start with like 2,000, then 3,000. I'm at 4,000 right now, being in canny, and then when you get to twine, it's 5,000. That's for your resources, so your wood, your brick, and your steel. As far as everything else, you can hold 200 of it, which is really cool, because that used to be a big deal as backpack size. What do you do when you have a whole bunch of something? So you say I have 4K. JD, you can't carry anymore. What should you do with it? Ice, what do you do with stuff? Where do you put it? If you're over. Thank you. That's a really good place. So you see I have 5 freaking racks of steel in my storage. Why? I don't like building my base out of my home base out of wood. So I'm going to use steel probably 75% of the time. Steel and brick. But other than that, is there anything else you want to add?
For future reference to people who trade for 6-star items, it's completely pointless.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a video. I promise we're going to do a video on trading and what some good trading rules are, because we really don't trade. But again, we appreciate everybody's time. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please press the like button. Also subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget, I gift people weapons for bringing subscribers over. So we love you all. Hope you all have a good rest of your day, and look forward to talking to most of you. Peace out.